2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. For we walk by faith, not by sight. A lot of times, there's going to be moments in our journey where we might not fully see what is ahead of us or what we have in store for the next phase of our life, but we have to keep pushing. We have to keep that courage and that faith and that hope that everything will work out in the end. But even in our darkest moments, we still have to look for the light. And so walking by faith and not walking by sight, that's what that looks like. It looks like us not fully understanding what the next few steps may look like, but still taking the actions and having the courage to take the actions to continue to push forward. With that being said, let's take a look at the charts this week. All right, you guys, so here we have the Monday chart pulled up, and we are currently looking at the ticker symbol QQQ. This is the ETF that is a very heavily traded company who purchases a lot of investment stocks for the tech sector, and we took a few day trades on it this week. Starting out Monday, we actually did take a win on this trade. We caught the level breakout here above the orb, and we actually caught some movement up into the 601.50 level. Once we got there, I think we took some profits. Then we looked for a retracement back down to 660, which is where we got back in it, and we rode it back up to the upside. This time breaking into new all-time highs at 602.5. Very easy, readable charts on Monday, but it got very shaky very fast going into the next few days of the week. So let's move on to Tuesday. So here we have the Tuesday charts. Now we're loaded on the SPY, ticker symbol SPY. And on SPY, for Tuesday, we took a rejection off the orb level right around 9:30. So we got in here right around the 663.29 level, which was the high of the orb level. And we actually caught a very nice rejection back down to the downside, which is where we ended up breaking back into lows of the orb. And I thought that it was going to retrace back into the orb level because it did look like we were kind of consolidating that day. My thought was right, but my entry was wrong. I ended up taking puts once we closed below this orb, trying to see if we would get continuation to the downside, which we ended up failing, getting continuation, and we reclaimed the orb low and went right back into the highs of that candle. But we just got chopped out of a lot of plays on Tuesday. Starting out with this pivot position here once we tried to fail the orb low and reclaimed it. And then I took another trade after this, trying to catch the upside back to the orb high, but failed to catch that properly. And so we just took two L's that were just very ugly and not properly read on the market. The idea in my mind was to take calls, but like I said, the market just looked like it wanted to go down lower. And given the current price action we've been having with all the upside, I was thinking that, okay, since we're closing this orb level low, let's take a position and see what happens. Wednesday was also a very parabolic day. As you guys see, this chart went absolutely insane. We had some very, very crazy price action Tuesday and Wednesday specifically, just due to the fact that the government announced that they would be shutting down. Since they couldn't come to an agreement on economics and the finances for the government, they just decided to shut down. And since then, the market has been on an absolute uproar. So we had a rejection come in at 665.40, you guys see here. And once we got that rejection, it looked as if we would take, this all the way down lower. However, we held that 663 level and we ended up reclaiming this orb high. Once we reclaimed this orb high, we ended up just chopping all the way up to 667. From 667, we broke above that and we went all the way up to 669 that day. So the market just went on an absolute parabolic move to the upside on Wednesday, and we got chopped out of a few different rejection spots. One here at the retest of the orb high, so 665.60. We failed that. Then we tried to see it go back into 667, which is where we failed again. We had a slight failure come in, but we didn't have the failure that I was expecting. And the contract value movement was not good at all. So essentially we took another loss on Wednesday as well, which was not okay. So I just decided to call it quits on that day and take my two L's that we had for the day. and just let the market do what it did that day. However, Thursday was really good, so let's move on to Thursday. And here we have the Thursday charts loaded. We had an instant rejection come in right at the opening bell candle on Thursday, and we rejected from 670.50 all the way back down to the level of 667 and 666, which is where we then saw a reversal back into 670, and we held below that level, 670, going into the closure of the market on Thursday. So Thursday brought us back to life on the week, and we were able to catch a really strong move going into that day. Lastly, we have Friday, and here you guys see the price action on Friday. It was just as crazy as it was all week long. We ended up breaking above 670, pushing all the way into 673 almost, where we ended up getting rejection then from 672, back down to 670.50, and then from 670.50, we ended up failing 670 and pushing back down into 668, closing out right around 669.45. So very interesting price action this week. Like I said, the economy did close, the government did shut down, and I think that is a lot of the reason why the market did run up the way it did and move the way it did this week. There wasn't a lot of fear and uncertainty regarding news and data coming out. So a lot of the news and data that was supposed to come out this week was paused. And, with that being paused, people were just in an uproar and wanted to buy more shares of companies. So a lot of companies ran up and did really well. And that's how this week ended for most stocks. So let's look at the projections for next week and see what we can look at possibly happening going into next week. Here we have the SPY chart loaded in the 4-hour time frame. And as you guys see, we've created new all-time highs. So what can we look to see happen next week? So since we've already shown very strong rejections off of 672.60 with a full engulfing candle here, this could mean we will see more downside going into next week. I would say look for a failure of the 667 level. If we see a failure below 667, you guys can most likely expect failure below that level back down to 664. And if we don't hold 664, we can push back down to 660. However, if we hold 667, we can push back into 670. And if we break 670, we can see back up into 673. But it does look like 673 is the major level of rejection for this current chart, just given based off the very strong volume that kicked in on Friday. And we see the full engulfing candle from 670 to 868 back down to 668. So if we do get back up there to 672.68, you guys can look for a rejection off of that level. But if we open below 668 going into Monday, then you guys can look for rejections off that 668 level back down into 667. And then if we fail 667, we can see a push back down to 664 or 665. And then from there, if we fail 664, we can see back down into 660. So these are the levels that I have for the upcoming week. You guys want to be mindful of these levels going into next week. Very, very patient. Don't rush into these plays. Look for confirmation. That is key in day trading. You want to see confirmation before you take a trade, and then you want to have risk defined. Sometimes it pays off to take the risk, take a trade before you define risk, but a lot of times it doesn't. It does not make sense to take a trade before you define risk. So make sure you guys have defined the risk in these trades before you take them, and have your risk management very tight. It is a very choppy market, so I would just say tread lightly, be very patient. Don't rush into trades. Just wait for your levels to hit, and once your levels hit, then take action, because then you'll have the best defined risk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to like and comment. Make sure to share this with 3 people that you know who like to trade and who are interested in trading. If you guys are new, make sure to join my Discord community. I will start posting signals and just different ideas about trading and investing in the group. It is free to join. The link is in the bio. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.